Alright, so this was a really good chapter. From beginning to end, I was so satisfied, and it just goes to show how absolutely amazing the writing is. And this isn't news, right? But you can notice it best by just comparing this chapter to chapter 102, for example. And I'm not trying to say one chapter is better than the other, I'm simply trying to show you the range of storytelling we've been getting, because in a sense, it's very easy to get into Chainsaw Man and expect a free-for-all with character deaths in every chapter, especially since there was so much hype coming into part 2. But I'll be honest, part 2 has definitely been living up to the hype for me. It's just so well crafted and knows exactly when to pick up the pace or throw us in for a ride like we saw in chapter 102, but this chapter was just so completely satisfying in every sense of the word. So let's just get into the video here, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Okay, so we're starting the chapter here going back to Asa and Yoru, and everything we get here with Yoru is such a feels-good moment. And I've said this in a couple of my other chapter reviews, but it seems like Fujimoto's really trying to humanize her, right? I mean, she is the war devil, so she is technically a villain, but it always seemed more like the dynamic of Asa and Yoru was more important for the both of them than what their roles were at the time. Especially now that it looks like we'll be seeing these other big name devils like the Hunger Devil and Death Devil. You can almost understand why Yoru is taking the backseat here, and again, I understand that she is an antagonist, but it feels like there's a relationship being built here between her and Asa first before we get to anything else. And who knows how long that will take, right? Because now that we know after this chapter, she's apparently in a weakened state. It could actually take a while before she's able to do any real damage. It's like the most she can do is switch over control of Asa's body. And this is in reference to when she's answering Asa's question about why she hates Chainsaw Man. She says, "I fought him long ago, but Chainsaw Man gets back up no matter how many times you kill him, so I lost to him. Next thing I had known, he'd eaten from my body, weakening me. He's the reason why there hasn't been a single war since the World War. War became a thing of movies and video games, and as the world forgets war's terrors, I grew even weaker. At this rate, everyone will forget me and Chainsaw Man's to blame." Alright, so not only has the fear of war been reduced because of Chainsaw Man, but we're finding out the result of this happened after he had ate a piece of her. But the timeline here is slightly throwing me off a bit, because I'm assuming this big fight that she had with Chainsaw Man is going back to at least the time of the First World War, right? So this is a fight that Yoru had against Pochita, I'm assuming, and not only that, it seems like she's been able to survive for the most part because of the fear people get of war through movies and video games. But it's not like she was eaten entirely, so the fear of actual war still exists, it's just not as high as it should be. And perhaps that's the most important truth to all of this, when Asa believes Yoru just doesn't want to be forgotten. And this is really interesting because it seems more like a personal problem for Yoru than anything else. Like, her wanting to be remembered to continue to exist is the purpose to her mission here. It's not like Makima, who had this massive plan to control the world or anything like that. So again, I love this whole scene we got here with Asa and Yoru, but I'm sure Fujimoto's gonna flip the switch on them in the next 1 or 2 chapters. I just don't see things staying this sweet for too long, especially after what Denji had admitted to Asa. And speaking of Denji, we're seeing him in class now, but this part is just so weird. He's being used as a chair for this girl, who we find out later apparently paid him only 10 yen to do this, which is like, what, 60 or 70 cents in dollars, I think? But then we're seeing Yoshida here again, and he's here to give him his school ID that he purposefully left behind at the scene where he killed the cockroach devil. And after reminding him to keep his secret about being Chainsaw Man to himself, he then offers Denji money to be his chair instead, but Denji's still just ranting at him and telling him he wants to be found out no matter what. So then Yoshida starts to zero in on what Denji really wants, and it turns out he wants a girlfriend. But then we're getting into the best part of the chapter now. We're seeing Yoshida now with Denji and Asa, and this is what I meant by satisfying, because it was only a matter of time until we saw all 3 of them together. But the way this all goes down is so hilarious and fulfilling. This chapter just does everything right. And the reason they're here with Asa is because Yoshida had remembered when she apparently straight up asked him to be her boyfriend, but she's obviously not aware of why Denji and Yoshida are really here. He tries to brush it under the rug by saying it's crowded everywhere else, so they came to the roof. So we find out Yuko isn't here because she's recovering from her injury that she got during the Bat Devil attack, but now Yoshida mentions how Chainsaw Man saved them, and then Denji just looks over at her and says he saved you? And if you go back to chapter 102, it was Asa who got a good look at Denji in his Chainsaw Man form when he attacked the cockroach devil, but he was so occupied at the time during his fight to notice her, so that explains why he asks. So after Yoshida introduces Denji as this massive Chainsaw Man fan, she just glares at him and says seriously, and then Denji feels he has to ask her about what she thinks about Chainsaw Man, and everything that happens next here is just so good, because at first she says she hated him before saying her feelings about him are neutral, but then she goes on this tangent where she explains everything wrong that she dislikes about him. And the funniest bit I think here is when she says, then there's how he only saves women, it's blatantly horny and that's gross. And Denji's only response is saying he has a pure heart. And I don't really know why it's so funny. I think it's because it's just such a random thing to notice about him and even mention after insulting his appearance and intelligence. So then she just says, you don't know that, it's not like you're him. And then she even continues her rant. She references back to when he saved that cat and presumes it means that he eats cats and dogs, and by his nature as a devil, she then automatically assumes he eats people as well. And Denji's getting so defensive now, trying to counter her, but then she says the same thing again here. She says, like I said, how would you know? Chainsaw Man fans will defend him over anything, I hate that too. But then we're coming to what should be this massive point in the chapter. Denji just looks at her and straight up confesses. He says, I know cause I'm Chainsaw Man. And I love Yoshida's reaction to this. He's so stress-free, but also Asa's face as well, because I did not expect this from her, right? I don't know, she always seemed more reserved in my opinion, but it's like she's just cringing at him with this reaction. I think it's really mean, even if she thinks Denji's being this lying weirdo. And after this moment of silence, she just straight up calls him a loser and calmly walks away. So after she leaves, we're coming to the end of the chapter here, when Yoshida just tells him that no one would have believed him anyway if he just admits it like that, before Denji just screams at her saying that he really is Chainsaw Man. So I can't praise this chapter enough. It touched on so many things, especially with Yoru, but seeing Denji, Asa, and Yoshida together was something I had anticipated for a while now. And just a heads up, it looks like the next chapter is also scheduled to be released in another 2 weeks from now, so maybe that's not a surprise, but with the anime on its way, it's not really bothering me, to be honest. So regardless, I can't wait to talk about the next chapter with you guys. But this is where I'm gonna end the video with, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, then make sure you subscribe. I regularly cover the Chainsaw Man manga here, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated. But before I end the video, I just want to give a very special thanks to the channel's patrons: Iron, Justin, Nix, EXP, Paranormal Beluga, Jedi Knight 104, and Ped Yuko. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I cannot say it enough. And like always, if you're interested, you can sign up too and get into the monthly Q&A I do here on the channel. I'll be posting the next one up sometime at the start of October, so from now until the end of September, feel free to consider joining. You'd also be helping me out a lot here in a massive way and get a special shout out like this in every single video. The link will be in the description below, or you could just search it yourself at patreon.com/Izanami. But other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, I would greatly appreciate it, and feel free to comment down below what your thoughts are, anything you agreed or disagreed with, and yeah, have a great day.